Okay, you're here because you've heard that there is an easy way to make your very own Springer pistols. Either that or the YouTube algorithm brought you here, and God help you. So, let me introduce, because I probably haven't done this on video yet, 31K Elk Springer pistol. This case, the medium variant, running 8-round magazines, gravity drop, top prime, dry fire safe. Medium guys are hitting about 200 FPS. The long boys, in this case, running a pump grip because why not? 18-round magazines make this a smooth pistol primary at about 230 FPS, depending upon how much lube and stuff. Kind of like a little pistol primary, or top prime, whatever. So I started working on these back in March. By about April, I had a couple weeks after it, I had a useful prototype. Spent the last few months getting them perfected, and then once that was done, I used everything that's inside this to make new things. First thing I made was the Halo Magnum. This took 3 days using the cutting tools that I will introduce you to. Same with the 454 Casul from Helsing, using L hardware. This thing's just absurd. All that pretty detail. Ooh, look at all that text. It is neat. Did I mention they're all dry fire safe? All of them are dry fire safe. Almost at the same fire, but this little guy is using the C hardware kit, or this compact. I've got compact for the little guys. This one's short barrel. Most of the back of this is completely not just there for the design. I could do more, but this was a proof of concept, and it worked really well, really fast. So now you want to know how to do this. Well, I've been working since yesterday afternoon on the partner to the 454 Casul. This is called the Jackal from Helsing. I spent 2 hours just on the text on this damn thing, but spent some time this morning modeling it. Fortunately, it's not that complicated. It's mostly just a slab with some grip features. Now I'm at a point where I want to take this and turn it into the final product, or at the very least get the process started, start cutting on the pieces that need to be added. As we can see, there's nothing going on in here of any note. I have split out the grip scales, the trigger, and the trigger guard, because those are going to get in the way of the cutting process. So I'm just going to start with the frame. Let's make this a little more colorful, so what I'm about to do is easier to see. So let's drag in my tools. I have my elk cutting kit here. It drops in a bunch of parts, most of which you don't want to see immediately anyway. Let's kill that, and we'll just be left with the cutting tools. Suggestion is build around this. That's what I've been doing, is using the cutting tools to inform me where all my parts need to go. I will take this down to just the frame cutter. So what you're looking for from a good design is it's got enough room in the grip going around the magazine, large enough hole for the mag release, plenty of space for the trigger. This is not the trigger. This is simply a piece to manage where the trigger guard is going to end up interacting with the trigger spring inside. Let's show you what's going on here. This is all the pieces that are not an elk. They are, there's room for the barrel, the everything that makes it function. Turnaround, magazine, space where the trigger needs to be able to move, width for the mag release to move smoothly. And as we can see, my model fits over this kind of nicely for some reason. It's almost like I planned it that way. From a design perspective, anything below this line is going to become the frame. And we'll turn on the slide cutter here. Anything above that line is going to become the slide. Anything forward of this slant is going to become the muzzle. And let's show you how this works. First off, we're going to make a total of 4 copies of this thing to work from. Okay, let's call this one the slide. This one the turnaround. This one the muzzle. And we'll start with the frame. So with just the frame selected here, I'm going to take the frame cutter. I'm going to combine these two things together. So I'll take the slide, combine it with the cutter, cutting it and keeping the tool, although I might not need it later, but just in case I need to cut something I do later. So combining those two together leaves us with just a frame. We'll do the same with the rest of this stuff. Slide, target, slide, turn around. You'll want to make sure that none of the pieces of the cutting kit, or none of the internal bits, are exposed on the outside of your blaster, except where it looks obvious, like for the stuff sticking out the top of the slide cutter. Like these are for the bungees. The turnaround that needs to completely conceal the tube inside. Let's see, muzzle. Let's cut a muzzle for you. And while we're here, I also want to cut a B-car for this thing. So I've got a 9-bearing B-car built right in. I'll combine that with the muzzle. Now there's all the internals for a B-car as well. Okay, so that's the cutting tools. So now we've got all these pieces, the four primary components needed. Let's look at what that looks like with the parts inside. Oh, look at that. Barrel has a place to go, trigger looks good. So you can see just all of the pieces that are already managed for your very own personal design to turn into this pistol. Now, the important part, the important part's left over. You need to create a trigger guard of some sort that includes this structure here at the top and this structure here behind. This plate and this hole manage this spring that controls the mag release. This notch coming into the frame here holds back the spring for the trigger. So these pieces need to be included in your design in some manner, with a way to get things into them. I'm using the trigger guard here. This is the default elk trigger guard, but what I will end up doing is taking this trigger guard, integrating the pieces at the end, and finding a way to attach it into the frame. We'll use the Halo Blaster here as an example. In this case, because there's no trigger guard, I had to create that structure and have a way of screwing it in. I was still able to use the handguard to manage the top section for the trigger spring. So back where we were at. Next up, now that you've cut it up, there's a couple other structures that you're probably going to want to add. One of them, this hole represents where bungee is coming out for the sear in the original elk, and in this case, the Halo Blaster uses it has a much larger cover built in just to be able to complete this. But this covers up the knots coming up off of the bungee that wrap around the sear, and keeps them contained and not visible. So that is how you want to do that, is entirely up to you. There's examples out there on how I did it, and will be on this one when I'm done with it. The other thing that needs to happen is there are no screw holes for anything here. So I've included a screw cutter, which I need to copy and paste here to make it work. There we go. You go away. This is about as long of a screwdriver as I have to reach a screw-shaped hole at the bottom. I make copies of this and move them where I need them. The correct way to use this, let's make the turnaround a little bit easier to see. There we go. I need to cut, for example, I need to cut 2 screw holes into the turnaround. So I'm going to take one of my screw cutters, create a copy, rotate it, put it about there. I've got enough room. Yeah, that looks about right. And the correct way to use these screw cutters is that the chamfer here and this edge are going to line up with what you are attaching to, and everything behind it is what you're attaching to it. So that little chamfer allows the screw to go in a little bit easier. And then this is the flare for the 440 screws. There are 17 screws included in the regular hardware kit, so go ham on whatever you want to do here. I like where that's going, so I'm going to make a mirror of it for the other side. And it's like we've been doing, Boolean combining. Combine the turnaround with the 2 screw cutters, and then we'll combine the slide with the 2 screw cutters. And now we have perfectly formed holes to attach your screws for the turnaround. In general, the suggestion would be having like one for the top here, 2 or 3 holding the muzzle in. For example, we'll do that again because I know I need one here. Let's make an analysis. I see this part's a bit thin, so I'm probably going to make that a little bit larger before I'm done with the design. This would be, yeah, I'm going to need to make this a bit thicker to catch all that. So let's do that anyway. Oh, looks good. Yeah, it doesn't like that. I'll mess with that later. This is the basics for creating your own design. All the internals are managed. You just have to deal with the outside. Cut the screws where you want them, put the cover where you need it, manage where the trigger guard bits are going to interface with the frame, and print it out and try it. If you need help, it can be easily found on the Discord, which I'm going to link below. I think these things are pretty cool. I love how easy it has become to make my own thing, and I'm just going to keep making new things as I find new stuff I want to build. Modeling the final outcome and then just cutting it apart and printing it out is just remarkably simple. The hardware kits for these at this point are only $40 to 46, depending on how many bearings you're getting into them. The magazine springs are $1 a piece, so print out as many magazines as you want. I think I did a pretty cool thing with this, and I really hope the community likes it. I really hope they come back and use all these tools to make exactly what they want out of what I've already done. Everything is going to be extremely available. My only request is that if you're using my tools, give me access to whatever cool thing you come up with so that I can allow anybody else to print it. That's not a requirement, it is just simply a request. That way, if you want to sell the files, fine, whatever. But the way this has become so effective or way I've become so effective at making things is because of how much the community shares back and forth. With the helps of Silly Butts and his crew of designers, with the people who design their own things on my Discord, we can come together and collaborate on something really cool instead of just making it entirely my problem. I had an old trigger that worked pretty good, but now the new ones work even better because of input from my community. Thanks, Fire Phoenix. Appreciate your input on making this lifter thing happen. Make your cool thing. Show me what you got. Buy some hardware from me if you can. Moose Mod Shop, Foam to Fear. Let's do it.